So hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning for our council meeting. First up, we will do roll call and introductions. Stoyan, do you mind going through roll call?
Annette will do the roll call, and Annette is our new administrative assistant, and we're happy we have her on board. And this is the first meeting, council meeting she's hosting. So Annette, you have the stage.
Thank you, Annette.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Okay, so we have Andrew Klein, Chair, General Public East of the Cascade Crest.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Tony Doan, Vice Chair, Local Government Fire Service Official, East of the Cascade Crest.
Here.
And Anthony Mashmed, General Construction, Residential, and Multifamily Housing.
I'm here.
Jay Arnold, City Elected Legislative Body Member or Mayor.
Present.
Al French, County Elected Legislative Body Member or Elected Executive, East of the Cascade Crest. Okay. Jim Milbauer, General Construction, Commercial and Industrial Building.
Present.
Robert Graper, Structural Engineer Profession, East of the Cascade Crest. Shell Anderson, Architectural Design Professionals.
Present.
Phil Limley, City Elected Legislative Body Member or Mayor, East of the Cascade Crest. Corey Wilker, Construction Plumbing Trades.
Present.
Thank you. Robert Hamlin, County Elected Legislative Body Member or Elected Executive.
Present.
Carolyn Traub, Mechanical Engineering Profession. Micah Chappelle, Building Code Enforcement Official.
Present.
And Todd Bayreuther, Manufacturers, Installers, or Suppliers of Building Materials or Components, East of the Cascade Crest.
Here.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 out of 14, so we do have a quorum. And now I will continue with the ex officio members. Representative Alex Ramel. Representative Larry Hoff.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Linda Wilson. Senator Joe Nguyen. Lauren Lathrop.
I am here.
Okay. And then our Assistant Attorney General, Derek Meyerbach-Bachtal.
I'm here, Annette. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, thank you, Annette. Would any members of the public like to introduce themselves?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jed Sherman. I'm with the IATMO Group.
Thank you, Jed. Welcome.
Good morning. This is Kevin Dewell with Northwest Natural.
Thank you, Kevin. Welcome.
Good morning. This is Andrea Smith with the Building Industry Association of Washington.
Thank you, Andrea. Welcome. All right, going once, going twice. So thank you. Next up, review and approve the agenda. So that's up on the screen and it's also been posted.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Micah.
Second, Joe.
Thank you, Shell. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And is anyone opposed? And motion passes. So next up, we're going to go into executive session for a little while. Stoyan, do you have an idea how long that should be?
Dirk, 15, 20, 30 minutes?
Sorry, fumbling with my mute. No, not nearly that long. I would say 15, 20 minutes.
All right, let's do 20 just in case. So let me go through the spiel and then we will do that. So the council will now meet in executive session to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation to which the agency is or may be a party, when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency as allowed by RCW 42.30.110.1. The council will be in executive session until 10:30 a.m. The council is expected to take further action following the executive session. Thank you.
So the same drill, leave this meeting and I will open the executive session meeting.
All right, again, thank you for your patience. I call the regular meeting back to order. So we just completed number 3. We're on to number 4 on the agenda, public comments on the agenda, on items not on the agenda. So if there are any public comments or if there are any comments from members of the council, now would be the time to make any of those. So. Let's see, I'm not seeing any hands raised. So we'll go on to number 5. Review and approve the January 21st meeting minutes. So they're up on the screen and they've also been posted online.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. I think that was Shell.
Tony.
Second, Jim Milbauer.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? And motion passes. So next up, let me pull up my agenda. There we go. BFP standing committee reports. So we'll start off with the IBC and the IEBC. So the IBC tag met to review the existing amendments, mostly in the structural sections of the IBC. We went through and took a look at what amendments were no longer necessary because they've been incorporated into the 2021 edition of the IBC. If they had not been, then we recommended keeping those amendments. So that's up on the screen and they've been posted. If anyone's got any questions or comments, now would be the time.
Just for clarification purposes, you see at the end, the column is the right end, the comments. There are comments. These are recommendations by the TAC members, staff comments. So these are part of the report because in many of these sections, staff and TAC members still continue to research and work on. So these are major parts of these reports. So don't consider this report a final report. It will be posted on our website. We will be receiving amendments in the next 2 months. We'll get to that section for the submission period. But, we'll continue working on these reports. That's a general comment for our reports that you will see today.
Yeah, thank you, Stoyan. Micah, you've got your hand up.
Thanks, Andrew. On the agenda, it indicates that council action is required on these reports. And my question will be, two questions actually. What is that action expected to be? And do you want that for each report or as the report packages as a whole, not individual?
We need a vote on each report, and the council decision will be approve the reports or disapprove the reports or make modifications to the reports, which will be part of the approval.
Yep.
It's a standard procedure that we did for group 1 and now it's a group 2.
No, I appreciate that. I that's more or less for public information. So everybody knows what we need to do as council members.
All right, so just to be clear, after we go through the short introductions of each report and I ask for any comments, that's comments from anyone, members of the public or members of the council. So I'm not seeing any more hands raised. Is there a motion to accept this report?
Motion to approve report as shown for IBC existing amendment review.
Thank you, Micah.
This is Tony.
Corey, I'll second that.
Thank you, Corey and Tony. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And is anyone opposed? Motion passes. So next up, I believe would be the IBC significant changes. So same thing here, the IBC tag went through all the significant changes between the 2018 and the 2021 editions of the IBC. Again, this is just the structural provisions of the IBC. Most of the changes did not have any cost increases associated with them or need an amendment. We did have a few that we suggested we put a state amendment in that would have caused a cost increase. So this has been posted, and if anyone's got any questions or comments, now would be the time to bring them up. And I'm not seeing any hands raised. Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve the report for the IBC significant changes.
Thank you, Micah.
This is Corey, I'll second that.
Thank you, Corey. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed, please say nay. And motion passes. Next up, the International Existing Building Code. First up, existing amendments. Same deal here. We went through to see which amendments were still necessary or had been addressed in the model code update to the 2021 edition. And most of them we're keeping because they had not been incorporated. Any discussion on these or questions? If not, would anyone like to make a motion?
This is Bob. I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Bob.
I'll second.
Thank you. Who seconded?
Micah and Tony.
Oh, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? And motion passes. So next up, the International Existing Building Code Significant Changes Report. Same deal here. We went through, again, most of these changes did not affect the cost of construction. There is one issue here to research for the accessible route, the width for an exterior accessible route. That we did have a state amendment on that at 44 inches. And I think the new requirement stating that it must be at least 36 inches. Julian, can you-
Yes, it's 36 inches. It was added to the existing building code. It wasn't there before. It's consistent with the old ANSI. I assume this is the reason why they added it. Micah provided me with some old codes and documents, and I have a few, so I'll keep working on it until we figure out the dates and the time frame. So that's on stuff. We'll do the research.
Okay,
Well, we
thank
started,
you.
but we will finish it, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. So any questions on these? Or comments? Because my dogs in the background have some comments. I don't think they get a vote.
Well, the issue is that my dog will start after your dogs.
So, all right, if no questions or comments, would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sal.
Second, Micah.
Thank you, Micah. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, please say nay. And motion passes. Corey, did you want to go over the, we're doing, were we doing UPC or IRC next?
On the agenda, it's got the bullet point for IRC, but
Oh, okay, then Micah, were you IRC?
I am.
Okay, well, floor is yours if you'd like it.
Excellent. So this is very similar to the IBC and IEBC tag reports. If you note in the last column, it has notes and decisions. So that would be the recommendations from the tag that was approved by the BFP committee yesterday. And so pretty straightforward. Again, this is the existing amendment report. If you have any questions, fire away.
Thank you, Micah. Any questions or comments from anyone? All right, it's an easy crowd, Micah.
Sweet.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve this?
I'll make it.
Corey,
since
motion
I'm-
to approve.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey. Second. Second
think
from
that was
Micah.
you. Thank you, Micah. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, please say nay. And motion passes. So next up, Micah, significant changes.
Excellent. One of the things I didn't mention on the previous report is this report is going to cover chapters 1 through 10. I want to thank the IRC tag for doing all this work. I also want to thank the IRC Energy Code tag. Carolyn Traub, I think, was the chair on that. And they handled a lot of the other sections that dealt with energy, mechanical, stuff like that. So I appreciate all the work. So with that, this is the IRC significant changes report comparing the 2021 IRC to our 2018. And our recommendations again are in the last column on what the tag proposed as well as approved by the BFP committee. If you have any questions, I think we can open the floor for that, or comments even.
All right, doesn't look like there are any. Going once, going twice. All right, is there a motion?
This is Corey. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Corey.
This is Bob. I'll second.
Thank you, Bob. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? And motion passes. All right, Corey, now it's your turn for UPC.
Well, in an effort to follow Micah's classy move, I'd like to thank the UPC tag for all of their help through this part. This first document is to, again, go through the amendments and compare with the existing language and identify issues that we'll need to resolve. And so the committee met for 2 days to go over that. We had some discussion on it at yesterday's BFP, and it was approved to move forward to the council. So if there are any questions, I can answer those.
All right, thank you, Corey. Any questions or comments? If not, are there any motions?
Move to approve the UPC report for
Thanks,
existing
Micah.
amendments.
Second, Joe.
Thank you, Shell. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, please say nay. And motion passes. And back to you, Corey.
Onto the UPC significant changes report. After the tag committee had identified and gone through the existing amendments, we made the list of all of the significant issues that we can start with. And again, this is my first session through the tag, but we'll use this document to get moving forward on some relatively firm ground and take proposals as they come after. So if there are any questions on the significant changes that we've identified so far, I can answer some of those questions as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Doesn't look like it. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the UPC significant changes report.
Thank you, Micah.
Second, Joe.
Thank you, Shell. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 And is anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, Stoyan, back to you. Did you want to describe the submission period for the statewide amendments for Group 2?
Yes, Annette, can you? Okay, great. So you see the schedule that you approved the previous meeting. On the right, I highlighted the important dates. So today's meeting, you just approved the reports, and the council staff is asking for a submission period for proposed state amendments for Group 2 effective February 21st, and the closing date April 8, 2022. So during this period, we will be
Annette, are you able to blow that up a little bit? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm looking at my screen, and my screen is much bigger, so I didn't pay attention. It's too small for it. So on today's meeting, you just approved the reports. The reports will be posted on the website. We want to open the period on Monday, February 21st, and it will close on April 8, 2022. So this is the period that will get all statewide amendments to the Group 2 codes.
All right, well, thank you. Any questions or comments? And this says it requires council action.
Yes.
Motion to open submittal period from February 21st through April 8th. Is that the motion you need?
That's correct.
So moved.
Thank you, Micah.
Corey, I'll second.
Thank you, Corey. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And motion passes. Next up, legislative committee report.
Okay,
Todd.
this is Todd Byrather. I'll hand it to Stoyan in a second here, but we did not meet last week because of the hearing, nor this week because of this meeting. As a reminder to everyone, the council is not given authority to the committee to weigh in on the bills. Rather, it's a monitor and inform. So, Stoyan, do you like to give an update?
Thank you, sir. Yes. So we started with like 12 pages. Now we are down with 5, even less than that, because most of the bills didn't pass the cutoff dates. It seems like 1770 is the most important one. So I have the link to the bill if you want to see it. And with the highlighted areas, these are the new areas that were new and you may not be aware of. So it's adding 80%, clarifies that 80% reduction requirements doesn't apply to the increased load for the bill says electronic vehicle charging. I guess the intent was electric vehicle charging. And then in section 3, the text in section 3 is almost the same as it was introduced during the meeting in January and the Ledge Committee meetings. But the new is that the REACH code may not require more annual renewable production than a residential building is predicted to use. So it clarifies the technical provisions. So it's a good amendment, I think. In section 4, that is a new also. It clarifies that the REACH code won't be adopted at once, but it will go in incremental steps by 2027 energy code. So that's, I think, for the development of the REACH code and for the council that needs to adopt it, it gives us a little bit more opportunity to work on this REACH code. And in section 5, this is new and it was added to the bill a few days ago. So it specifies changes to the Washington State Energy Code for residential buildings, and any changes, it's not only changes related to 1770. It's any changes to the energy code. It says residential energy code. Keep in mind that we have provisions for residential buildings in the commercial energy code too, if they exceed 4 stories. So this section 5 requires the council to develop home affordability cost analysis. So I assume this will be added to the cost benefit analysis. And there is another clarification that, we may contract with a public or private organization to conduct this home affordability cost analysis. That additional section will add some cost for the council business and for the council staff, because currently we do the cost benefit analysis, but the cost benefit analysis is based on the approved of the council 50-year life cycle tool. So what is the difference? We do the calculations based on the life cycle of the building, whatever the building is. And this section requires upfront cost. So I don't know yet how we can do it. Most likely we will have a contract with a third party.
Thank you. So, Micah, you had a question?
Sorry, I can't get to my unmute button. I guess the question will be, can we have discussions on this bill, and are we able to make recommendations as the SBCC for some areas that I think that we should address that are problematic, in my opinion.
I don't know how well you can make recommendations or direct staff to do, you know, whatever you wish. The issue is with the time frame. So I have the committee actions below, and the last one was on February 12th in the House. So currently it's in the Senate. There was a public hearing on February 17th.
Right. There's the question I have is there's some items in there that should be of concern to folks under the engrossed substitute Senate bill. One of those is wording under section 2, item 1B. They talk about that we should include wiring for electrical raceways. Actually, raceways carry wiring, and maybe the LNI gentleman on the call today could verify that. Then I am seriously concerned for the section change under section 4, number 6. It talks about that the development of the REACH code is only going to be conducted by the Department of Commerce, and we shall adopt it as the State Building Code Council. In my opinion, this is really going well beyond the standardized process for code adoption and modifications to codes that we have established now, where it goes through a tag or something else, or a work group or something else. And then it does not give the State Building Code Council any discretion on the provisions of that code or whether or not we can or cannot adopt it. So I just think that's something that probably does need to be commented on by the State Building Code Council for that engrossed substitute Senate bill change. And because it is directing us to adopt something that we had no hand in helping develop, nor any of our work groups or anything else. It is explicitly stated that the Department of Commerce shall be the only entity that develops that REACH code. Like I said, I just think that's beyond our standardized process that works very well. That's my opinion on it now. And if we could have some discussion on that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure,
It's,
Mike.
I'm sorry, I will add something. So that what Micah is talking about is not in the substitute. It was originally proposed. So we follow the same process. The Department of Commerce will be acting as any other entity that is proposing something. So we follow the same process. The Department of Commerce is developing the technical requirements. The Department of Commerce is developing all documentation needed under the Administrative Procedure Act, and the council follows the same process. It goes to the technical advisory groups and then the standing committees and the council. It's not intended to do anything different. It says the council shall, but it says the same thing with the electric vehicle proposal. So again, it should follow the same procedure.
And we all know how the electric vehicle process has gone. Sorry. I just kind of giggle at that because there's stuff in there that's just not enforceable. And anyway, those were my concerns. I put the link to that engrossed substitute Senate bill that does have that language I just mentioned in the chat.
Thank you, Micah.
Again, I'm not opposed to the bill. I just think there needs to be some modifications so we don't run into these problems, especially on the section that talks about providing wiring for raceways. My understanding of electrical, that's not how you don't wire raceways, or you provide wire to raceways. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, Mike, on the specifically on the development process, staff was very involved in that. We spoke in the legislative meetings, so they did pick up on exactly what you had mentioned.
We tried to send a message to the sponsors, and I think most of the edits we asked for were accepted. But staff is neutral on the process. We can suggest technical updates to the bills. We can't be, we can't oppose it. We're following the direction from the council. We stay neutral until we're told otherwise.
So shall give Micah the floor again, since we're still on his topic, and then the floor is yours.
I apologize, Chael. The other item that I had concerns with in there it talks about exempting certain buildings or parcels that are small in size to not provide PV. I think that's in oversight, in my opinion. There should not be a way to exempt those areas. In Seattle, we have written into our code a method for a developer to provide off-site PV in lieu of on-site on those spaces that are small. And I think that should be something that could be included in that bill. Again, if we're not able to make changes or make those recommended changes, that's unfortunate. But those are some items that I think that could be reviewed by the SBCC. Thanks.
Thank you, Micah. Shell?
Yeah, to Micah's earlier concern, I wanted to ask Dirk if he thinks that the language would allow the TAG and the Building Code Council to provide reasonable modifications to anything Commerce comes up with based on our, very technical and in other viewpoints on the REACH code. If Commerce comes up with something that we find slightly imperfect, does the language in this current bill allow us to make reasonable modifications?
Thanks, Joe. I want to be clear. I haven't been involved in the drafting in any way of this this bill. I'm following along from home, like probably most people are. I have reviewed it though, and I'm generally familiar with it. And I would note that the provision that Micah is highlighting refers to the Department of Commerce making a proposal for the REACH code, and given that it for the technical requirements of the REACH code. I don't read that language as requiring the Building Code Council to accept Commerce's REACH code proposal, soup to nuts. In fact, to me, it looks like Commerce is going to do the heavy lifting with respect to doing cost benefit analysis and other sort of documentation that's necessary for under the APA for final adoption. So at least my reading of this bill, without, again, having been involved in the process at all, it strikes me, it looks like it would not preclude the council from going through its normal process.
Okay, thanks. That's great to hear.
Thank you, Derek and Shelley. Yeah, that was our understanding too during the legislative calls, but Todd, go ahead. You can probably add more.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, actually, I was going to ask the question for those that were here and involved. Isn't this the same process that Commerce went through on the commercial energy code? Am I remembering that correctly? They developed and then proposed to the rulemaking authority of the council? No?
I don't think so. I think that they did have some proposals in, but what this is talking about is developing the entire code itself, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. As far as I know, Andrew, that Commerce developed a proposal or two, or maybe three, and then the TAG considered those, but not the whole code.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Stoyan, were you finished or you're still going through?
I'm still going through.
Okay.
So HB 1774 didn't pass the cutoff date, but the companion bill did. So currently we're on SB 5722. This is the reducing greenhouse gas emissions in buildings. It doesn't really have any impact on the council related to code adoption or code development. So it's for the Department of Commerce The difference is tier 2 covered buildings. This was added, but again, it doesn't have any impact on the council. It may have impact on owners of tier 2 buildings, but again, this is out of our hands. The last one is 5793. This is moving forward. This is for stipends for low income or unrepresented community members of state boards, commissions, council, committee, and other similar groups. This is the title. It will include the State Building Code Council and the technical advisory groups. I think we had a discussion the last time during the meeting in January. The bill was amended a little bit, but the main requirements are the same. It will be up to the council to decide if technical advisory group members or council members will be eligible for this stipends. It caps out this money to $200 for each day, but it also adds some additional money for child care and adult care reimbursement, lodging and travel expenses. So I don't think we can control that. And if the bill gets approved, then the difficult part will be for the managing director and DES budget folks to figure out the budget. But the council, again, needs to decide if folks, members of technical advisory groups will be eligible for that.
Thank you. So just as committee chair, I just want to make sure that Micah and Shell's concerns were addressed just through discussion, or would either of you actually want to move to take action to direct the committee and or staff to take a position for the council on 1770?
My concern was addressed.
I think mine was as well, if you all believe that it's not stating that we shall adopt it without going through our own process. I mean, that's how I interpreted it. It was two separate sentences in the bill. You know, it said the Department of Commerce shall develop it and we shall adopt it. I mean, then when you break the sentences down, that's what those two sentences say. But if that's not the way everybody else is interpreting it, and you feel that we will be able to take that proposal through either a tag process or a subcommittee process or something else, and then vote on it. But how I read that, it was explicit in what was going to occur. And it didn't seem like that our technical folks like Todd and Chael and others that have expertise in that for our board are going to have the chance to dispute the proposal necessarily, or proposals for that entire code. Again, I'm not opposed to this bill. I just think there's some items in there that need to be addressed so we don't run into the same or similar problems that we have with the EV charging language, where some of it is not enforceable or items aren't captured or something else, because we are, you know, our hands are kind of tied based on the language of the bill. So I'm on the fence there, but I don't know if I did have a motion to direct language to be changed, what that or recommended changes would be. I don't have that language developed at this time.
Is it, so Micah, since we have a hearing next week, Stoyan, is it possible that if as we monitor this going through the Senate committee, that we could take action next week if there's still time? That's a what if.
Well, it's kind of late in the process, and I wish I had this concern when the bill was introduced, because during all this time, again, I provided testimony in one of the hearings, and I was working with the Department of Commerce and the sponsors of the bill provide some technical recommendations. Again, we were able to change the dates that will give the council more time to discuss this reach code and a few other changes. But my position during all this time was that this is a typical language used in other bills related to the council business, and I never took the approach that when it says shall, it means the council shall adopt it no matter what. My
And
position was
Stoyan,
that
Stoyan, oh, excuse me, I interrupted. Forgive me. I just wanted to ask you, Stoyan, in your conversations with Department of Commerce, have you heard any communications from them that they believe that their proposal must be adopted wholesale by the council without following the council's normal?
No, and the reason this reach code will be proposed as an appendix, as it's identified in the bill, is because the Department of Commerce wanted to have the coordination with the State Building Code Council. So the other option, and I think I discussed this with Andrew and Todd, if I remember correctly, a month and so ago, the other option was the Department of Commerce developed the reach code and posted on their website. And that wasn't a good idea because we wanted the council involvement in that process, because there should be a coordination between the reach code and the base energy code and the mechanical code. And, it's a coordination issue. So the decision was made, wasn't by me, but the decision was made by the sponsors that it will be an appendix to the energy code because they wanted the council's involvement in that.
One suggestion that I would have is, again, I'll reiterate what I said before, that I appreciate Micah's concerns. I don't read it the same way in the statute, but there might, if it's a little too late in the game, to get some changes to the bill to satisfy any concerns, and potentially entering into an MOU or some understanding with Commerce regarding what respectively each one of the agencies are going to do in this process might be helpful to alleviate some of those concerns.
That would be good as an idea. So I appreciate that thought. Some type of understanding with them, just because it does not indicate that we, go through that standard process. And I apologize, Stoyan, I didn't get any of this to you sooner. As you see that the February 12th there, the substitute bill, I didn't get that assigned to me till the other day to review. And so this is new development for me as well as for seeing that language. So I apologize for not getting something informational to the legislative committee at an earlier time frame.
So it is late, but it seems to me there's time, if this passes through environment, energy, and technology, to get in front of it in Ways and Means and have Stoyan communicate that our concern for clarification, perhaps. I don't know if council action is needed for that, or if that's simply informing like we have to date.
I'm good.
All right, back to you, Stoyan. I mean, you can convey that without council action, or would you prefer council action?
Well, I would ask the council if again, this is the typical language that is used in other bills requiring the council to adopt anything. So I would benefit if you can give me some idea. I can pass the message and somehow, but what are we asking for? So I understand we need clarifying language, but can we propose clarifying language? How we can do it?
Could we possibly pull that bill up to look at that section so folks can actually see that language, so it's not just a hearsay from Micah? I'd appreciate that. Maybe
Annette,
the folks,
can
the
you
public
let me
folks
share
would
my
as well.
screen? Okay, thank you.
Or hearsay for me, Micah.
Yeah.
And I think, Micah, you put it in the chat if that makes it easier for you.
I did, but I'm not, I hopefully that's the same one that Storian will bring up. And if you could, can you blow that up for folks to see it?
Yes, I can.
And I don't need to go through all my additional comments. I think that the last one of concern for folks, it seems like most of us going to get through. Like I said, I think they dropped the ball on allowing exceptions for small areas. I don't like the raceway wiring topic, but if you go to section 4, number 6, Stoyan, is the area of concern that I'm talking about the most here.
Okay.
So there we go. If you look at the last 2 sentences in this, it states that the Department of Commerce shall develop a proposal covering the technical provisions of the REACH code and the rulemaking documents required by RCW 34.5328. The State Building Code Council must adopt the statewide residential REACH code as an appendix to the 2021. So to me, that is explicit language without going, we can change the proposal, we can modify it. It just says and I understand, the difference in interpretation, but if we can just clarify our working relationship in this instance with Department of Commerce as far as developing that REACH code, because it sounds like we would have to, as individuals, go over and attend the Department of Commerce meetings to actually have any input on the development of that code.
So when we discussed that earlier, because it says that the Department of Commerce create a proposal, that then comes in and it's just a proposal. We must adopt the statewide residential REACH code, meaning, the proposal comes in and we can change that around and that becomes the REACH code. But I see your concern, which is why,
this is Derek again. I could anticipate that the proposal could, so what I hear Micah's concerns is that Commerce will write something that looks like a code and will come in and then the council would be required to adopt it up or down. But again, this is something that could be hammered out with Commerce, but I could see, really I'm focusing on the term technical provisions of the code. I could see them offering up bullet points, right? Or a report or some artifact of just general proposed technical provisions and just keying on that word proposal, I think is really for me, pretty decisive in understanding what Commerce's role is. Commerce has a key role here, but not ultimately the decisive role, because nothing here, in my view, would preclude the council from making appropriate changes to and ultimately adopting the code that they think is the right code to adopt.
Micah?
So with that, I do kind of have some timeline and technical questions. Unfortunately, Carolyn is not on the call right now. Would that code sit through the IRC tag? For one, would that proposal need to meet the same timeline that other proposals, meaning that the Department of Commerce would need to have their proposals to us by April 8th? If not, then it would be a separate timeline, which would have to be adopted on the same timeline as our current group of codes, because it's supposed to be in effect July 1 of 2024. Would that code also have to sit through a legislative cycle, meaning they need to get their proposals to us, we have to work through our entire process and have it, the public comment period and voted on by the end of November, if that's correct, Stoyan?
No, this should be done with off-cycle rulemaking. This is why we negotiated, discussed the date right here. It's not July 1st, 2023, it's July 1st, 2024. So it gives us one more year and the Department of Commerce to develop it and the Building Code Council to adopt it. So it's not part of this triennial code adoption cycle. It will be off-cycle rulemaking, which will follow.
I totally read that as 2023 for some reason. That's what happens when I read too many documents at once. Thanks. Sorry about that. We're good there on timeline.
Okay, thank you, Micah. Anything else? Okay.
So if I'm sorry, if you want me to reach out and try to pass a message to the sponsors, I'm not saying I will succeed, but can we agree on some clarifying language, or we leave it as it is?
If you're asking me, I would not make a formal motion. I think that the outreach to the Commerce Department, the Department of Commerce should happen and not the bill sponsors. I think, you know, sometimes I have my own opinions and interpretation of it, but if the majority of the group feels like that we can work with them directly on getting an appropriate proposal and go through the process that we've already set out, then I'm fine with it. I just wanted to bring up those questions and discuss this since we haven't had a legislative committee meeting technically. So I appreciate the time and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
We have a
Thanks,
good
Micah.
coordination and good working relationship with the Department of Commerce, so I'll reach out to them and I'll discuss this.
Stoyan, did you get to the end or did you have anything?
Yes, I
else?
did. I finished this
Okay.
item.
All right, any further questions or comments on the legislative committee report? All right, do we have anything to update with the WEI, or we don't have that report yet?
I don't have this report yet, but I wanted to provide some information. We hit Annette, can you show document 1? Not that, the other one. Okay. You can see that we hit a work group of economic impact meeting on January 28. And the folks from Ecotop provided some information, but the questions went a little further because they were questioned about, you know, is it a good proposal or it's a bad proposal, or, you know, questions that they weren't able to provide any answer because it's not part of their contract. So what the folks from Ecotop is, what the folks from Ecotop are doing, they are evaluating first the data from the proponents. So they concentrate on the cost benefit analysis. That's it. They don't evaluate if this is a good proposal or this is a bad proposal. They concentrate on the cost benefit analysis. This is a part of their contract, and they need to develop a draft cost benefit analysis for the council members before the meeting in March, and they need to develop the final cost benefit analysis after the after the energy code is adopted at the meeting, hopefully on April 22nd. So we didn't have a work group of economic impact meeting this week because we didn't have any updates compared to the meeting in January 28. And we didn't have any updates because the public hearing for the energy code will be next week. The expectations was that we will be receiving written testimonies that we can forward to Ecotop, and they can evaluate the comments and you know, include this in their work, again related to a cost benefit analysis. However, so far the comments that we have, they're good comments, but they don't have technical specific items related to the cost benefit analysis. So we have comments like, I like the proposals, I don't like the proposals, this is the future, this is not the future. Again, very good comments, but they're not specifically related to the cost benefit analysis. So the plan is we have scheduled a meeting for Wednesday, March 16th. Okay. And if I have updates to the Ecotop report prior to this date, I'll do my best to have another work group of economic impact meeting that the work group of economic impact can review the proposal, the draft proposal, and then we'll have another one on March 16 that will be a little bit closer to the final version that the council members will have for the meeting in March, the council meeting in March. The council meeting on March 18, I think it was, this will be the work session for the council members. And during this work session, they will discuss the energy code and they will direct staff if some changes are needed to be made. That's what I can share at this time.
Thank you, Stoyan. Any questions or comments? All right, next up, IBC-IFC hearing report.
I don't have a formal hearing report here, and most of you attended the hearing, and what I want to say is this is the first time we're doing this hearing only, not part of the council meeting. As the first time, I think it went all right, with some hiccups here and there, but it was okay, and it was our practice for next week, which will be much longer and much more heated meeting for the energy code. Staff will prepare the audio recordings and the written document for the council members that they can see and evaluate based on what we received during the public hearing. The next one again is scheduled for February 25th, and this hearing will be only energy code. And we have another one for March 11th that we scheduled just in case if there are folks that weren't able to provide testimony. So March 11th will be for the building code, the fire code, and the energy code. Again, staff will do our best to provide everything that is needed for the council members, information related to the hearings. Just be patient with us because that's, we need to write down verbatim all hearings, and that takes a long time to do.
Thank you, Stoyan. Any questions or comments on that? All right, and that gets us to other business, which did staff have any other business?
I don't.
Okay. Any, Micah, go ahead.
You guys will get tired of hearing me talk today. I did approach Stoyan with a question earlier this week that I'm not sure if he had a chance to ask Dirk, but I wanted to bring it up here. And it was a question on SBCC interpretations and if we are allowed to provide those on something that is technically not within the State Building Code Act, but does affect construction. And what I'm talking about is RCW 64.55. And that does affect construction and permitting and other items. And there's some questions coming out that have to deal with how that section applies, when it applies, and how it applies to construction permitting, because it's based on number of units in a what they call a multifamily, I think it's a multi-unit building, which doesn't align necessarily with the definition we have in the State Building Code Act. And so hopefully Stoyan can get some more information from Dirk on that. And if we can actually, as the Building Code Council, because I think that we could be able to answer those questions, but could we actually legally render some type of interpretation on how that applies to construction? So
Annette, can you let me share my screen? Thank you. Okay, here is what Micah was talking about. Can you hear? I'm sorry. Can you see it on your screens? This is the definition for attached dwelling unit. It's related to construction defects. In the building codes, the definition and the description and the requirements related to attached buildings are different. I had a discussion with Dirk on that, very brief discussion.
Can you blow that up a little bit, please? More?
I'm afraid I can't blow it more than that.
Can you read
If
that?
you-
Can you read it?
Yes, Stoyan, if you press Control and then scroll up with your mouse, it should blow up.
Or Control Plus also works.
Okay,
There you
Right.
go.
is that better?
Oh, yeah.
It is much better. And just to point out before we get to the definition, Stoyan, you may want to go to the application section of 6455. And it states that RCW 645510 through 645590 apply to any multi-unit residential building for which a permit for construction or rehabilitative construction of such building was issued after August 1st, 2005. So that's why at this point we're kind of asking this question, because these sections do apply according to this language to any multi-unit residential building. And then that gets into the definitions of multi-unit residential building. And then of course into additional definitions of what is attached, is kind of the question I've had for Stoyan on the attached, but it will be, go ahead.
Quick,
Sorry.
I have a quick question. First time I've talked on this form of Zoom, so let me know if you have any advice or if I'm doing something wrong. One thing that I know from, say, the community, the public side of things, and what I've seen in a lot of the building meetings that I've been in is the definition of multifamily. So I'm not really quite sure, haven't studied enough yet, I will, of this specifically, but I'm not sure what the state defines the multifamily at and what that threshold is. But I know in my little town, the threshold is like 3 units. Anything over 3 units, and you gotta start doing fire barrier and such in between. But I have a problem with that. And again, I don't know how much of that is applicable, but when you go to get a loan, so, you know, the financing market, the banking market, whether you're doing it commercial, residential, they consider 1 to 4 units the same. And yet it seems, at least where I'm at here, that they have a breaking point at 3 units. I'm not sure why 3, or maybe that's just a county thing versus state, but I think I'm a definition person, very, very basic. And so I'd be curious, and if there is any information on that I could get later after the meeting would be great too. But to have everybody, when it comes to financing and it comes to the codes, laws, to maybe be on the same page as to what you consider multifamily, anything over 1 maybe, but it seems an odd breaking point for some of the requirements and codes that have been established at 3 units. And again, I might just have to address that locally. Thanks.
I have just a point of order. Can you identify yourself for the folks that are attending this meeting?
Oh, I'm Nikki Birmingham Simpson. Nikki, or Nikia, Nikkia.
Thank you. So well, if you're waiting for me, I don't know what else I can add. Again, I had really brief discussion with Dirk. I don't know if the council can make any interpretation that is in a different RCW, but I'm not.
Well, yeah. So, Stoyan, if you don't mind me just jumping in for
Yes,
a minute.
sir. I would appreciate that.
Sure. And I want to appreciate Micah's question. Stoyan and I did have an opportunity this week to have a few conversations about this. So there's 2 questions here, I think. One is, what is the authority of the council? I guess what you're getting at, Mike, what's the authority of the council to offer up a kind of an authoritative opinion that could help with the definitions, scope out the definitions in 6455? And then second, of course, what are those definitions in 6455? Or But I'll focus here on the authority of the council. The council does have, by statute, as I think as we all know, the authority to provide opinions regarding the building code. So that relevant statute, which I'm going to pull up right now, if I can actually manipulate it, is in 19.27.031, which provides that the council may issue opinions relating to the codes, to the building codes, at the request of a local official charged with the duty to enforce the enumerated codes. Those are the official opinions that you routinely hear about and as a council approve. Second, I, as my role of as counsel for the council, can help you all understand the scope of laws if asked to do so. That isn't necessarily a formal opinion, but it can help you in the work that you do.
That would be wonderful.
But that I just want to caution, that doesn't mean, regarding anything, it would be within the scope of the council's business, which focuses on its own authority and on the codes themselves. So there's two ways I think that we could proceed. If a local official, building official, were to request an opinion regarding the codes that touch on this, that's one route to go. And I don't know enough about how the codes intersect with 6455 to be able to provide an assessment of whether or not that would be something that the council would weigh in on. We'd need to see that request. I would caution, though, if a local building official were to request an opinion just about 6455, the council probably doesn't have the authority under the statute I just cited to render an official opinion, right? Because the official opinion has to be about the codes that are adopted by the council, not about 6455 or other statutes which fall outside of the scope of regulatory scope of the Building Code Council. And if separately, though, again, if the council wants me to help them better understand the law regarding the codes, and it requires sort of my understanding of what 6455 is, I'd be happy to work with you all. I'm just, as I sit here, it's not clear to me yet the intersection between 6455 and the building codes.
Yes, Ms. Birmingham, I think, the best route would be to submit, I don't know if you're the building official, or if not, have your building official submit a question as it relates to the building code that draws this in.
Okay, thank you.
So I appreciate the discussion, Stoyan and Derek. And I know we'll touch base more on this. We may request a formal interpretation some way, shape, or form, just because there are differences. Multifamily is defined differently in the State Building Code Act under 27. Oh goodness, I forgot the section. Anyway, 2715. But then it's also defined differently in 6455. But yet the application in 6455 may end up being or apply, if you read what multifamily is under that definition, could apply to townhomes or would apply to townhomes. And so then again, you're having this application of different RCWs to something that falls under the scope of the IRC or in the scope of the IBC. And there's no way to interpret what some of the stuff in RCW 6455 means or how it applies or correlates to what's in or adopted in RCW 19 or in our WAC rules. So that's kind of, Derek, you kind of gave that answer. It's like, if we can tie, the questions to the State Building Code Act, and this is what I'm hearing, so I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm hearing if we can tie our questions on what's the correlation between 6455 and the State Building Code Act and get some interpretation there, that the State Building Code Council could possibly act or provide that information to a jurisdiction.
I think that's fair. Of course, I emphasize the word possibly there. I think what I would say is staff would review the requests and questions surfaced regarding whether or not they're authorized to offer the opinion under our statutes. I would work with them, and we would assess whether there's a clear enough linkage for us to wade into that area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Todd?
So Micah, is the intent here to eventually trigger an interpretation, which then ultimately might lead to legislative action to clean this up? Is that where we're going?
You know, that wasn't my intent, but the more I dug into it, the more I feel that yes, that would be the answer in the long run. You know, there are sections that jurisdictions need to enforce that somewhat have conflict, or they don't mean the same in a 1 or 2 family dwelling or an IBC structure compared to what's in a different RCW. And so it's really to probably would lead to that, Todd, to answer your question. That was not my intent initially, but the more I dig into it and see those issues that jurisdictions are having when they're trying to apply these 2 different sections, and the State Building Code Council technically may not have authority over 6455 or even interpretation authority, that becomes a problem with enforcement. So.
Shell?
We're calling them opinions, not interpretations, right?
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Opinions. You're correct.
All right, so we're on other business still. All right, I'm not seeing anything else. Staff report.
Okay, I'm getting there. For the staff report, I have a little bit of budget information, which on the first slide, it just changed this morning, but I just want to show you where we are. So I want to clarify the spending authority, because the last time I gave you a number which was 700 something, and it wasn't the correct number. So here is, as you know, we are asking for more authority to spend. We need more funding for the energy code and for the documentation that we need to prepare for the cost benefit analysis, and the contract we have with Ecotop is one good example. And we also are required by law to hire a third party for 3 other studies. I'm not gonna get into details for that, but here is
Again, for a little bit bigger by chance.
a little bit bigger. Okay. I think this one is easier for me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So what you see in the gray area here is what we spent today through fiscal month 6. Okay. And this is until December. As you know, the fiscal year is different. So this is through December. The blue right here is the expenses, the budgeted expenses for the remaining 18 months. Okay, this is where we are. The black dashed lines are current amount the State Building Code Council is authorized to spend. So here is where we are. Okay, we are a little bit below the projected additional expenses. What is the orange? Okay, this is the additional authority in the governor's proposed budget. So this is for $453,000. This is the additional expense. This money will come from the council budget, the council account, okay, not from the general budget. This is the additional expense. And this is additional authority related to House Bill 1717, the one that we discussed like 30 minutes ago. This green one is changing because, the bill is not approved yet. It may be approved, it may not. And so this will change. But I wanted to just clarify my presentation during the meeting in January. I gave you a big number. So it's not that big how it looked like in January. Okay. And here is where we are. This is our balance sheet. I don't have all details. I didn't think you will need all details, but this is where we are now. We have the money in the budget, and we can expand a little bit and hire the people we need. And again, it's everything related to the energy code. So here is, I learned from Richard, my predecessor, and he told me concentrate on the bottom right corner. So here is the bottom right corner. In the last few months, we were planning to do auditing in the local jurisdictions for a long time. And in the last few months, we started receiving fees from more and more jurisdictions. It appears that many jurisdictions, they weren't sending any money to a treasurer's office. So in average, I have questions at least once per week from jurisdictions asking, how they can transfer the fees for the State Building Code Council. So I think we're okay on this front right now. And again, the bottom right corner is right here. It's over $1 million in the account. This is what I have for the staff report. If you have questions and you want me to talk about something else, feel free. I like to talk. I'm practicing my English.
Questions? Comments?
Me too, Stan.
Okay.
I like to talk and I'm practicing my English.
There are two of us then.
All right, going once, going twice. All righty. Well, again, thank you everyone for your time. We'll see you next week if you're coming for the hearings to be on there. But with that, we'll adjourn and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Andrew and everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.